The main topic today is about HR in post-COVID time, where there are many topics to cover to understand what's happening in the market with the candidates, with the employees, also with the companies. So to help you have a broad idea about what's happening in HR post-COVID times, we have invited two specialized companies to help us cover the different topics today. The first one is Lay & Associates, which is a member of LNA Holdings, one of the leading HR companies in Vietnam offering HR services and HR outsourcing. Just a few words about Lay & Associates to introduce them. They were founded in 2001, so they have 20 years of experience and continuous improvement. Thanks to their customer robust trust, Lay & Associates has firmly built brand broadly. This credibility is the result of the realistic solutions and practical responses to the client's various needs in HR management to accomplish their development strategy. The second company that will help us today is Adilstone Group. Adilstone Group is an elite recruiting and training firm, and they have also a concierge service that serve employers by connecting them with the high-quality professional candidates. Their relational networking, powered by an array of marketplace tools and contacts, help them to find candidates who have the talent and the character to match the company's visions and values. They aim for 90% of their placement to fulfill their contracts, and at least 20% of them renew because of the excellence and integrity that goes into their process. Adilstone Group was founded by a group of American professionals who recognized the growing talent shortage in the modern job market and wanted to be a solution to that problem by doing things differently. They had a vision for a recruiting company that did more than fill in open positions, one that offered the kind of service that would ensure an excellent result of all those involved. And the founders combined their skills to create a group driven by strong values and a genuine care for people. Today, Adilstone Group trains and recruits professionals from all over the Western world, placing them in some of the most competitive positions available, boosting employee retention and installing a sense of integrity and trust between employer and employee. Our speakers today are for Lay & Associates, Ms. Phan Thi My Hang, which will share with us about the HR digital transformation, one of the most popular trends in Vietnam after COVID-19, training and upgrading of employee skills to adapt to this trend, and focusing on employee experiences for better performance and better outcome. The talent acquisition in 2002 will be covered by Mr. Brandon Christensen, the president of Adilstone, and Gauthier D'Haenens, which is representative of Adilstone in Hanoi, and also director of business development for Adilstone Group. They will share with us how talent acquisition and market trends have and will continue to have an impact in this year, and how companies can best adapt dynamic HR changes globally and regionally. We have also already received a number of questions that we will raise later at the end of the speech. So if you are ready, we can start. Who is first to speak? So Ms. Hang, you are the first to share with us today your knowledge.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Guys, for nice interview me. And thank you, BeluxCham, for giving me a chance to be here with all of us. Now I would like to share my screening for my presentations.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Today I would like to talk to you about the trends for labor market in 2022. And as you know, COVID-19 has changed completely the way we work and what we do. Through the survey of Fujitsu last year, more than 80% respondents agree that COVID-19 has accelerated digital transformations. And there are three factors contribute to an effective pandemic response. They are authority, digitalization, and employee well-being. So, how readiness in labor workforce in Vietnam to responding in digital transformations? In the surveys of PwC published last year, more than 80% ready would learn new skills for now and completely retrain in order to improve future employability. And more than 80% people agree that they are currently learning new skills, with the majority of the respondents say are learning independently for getting new chance in the future. So, where is the labor market in new normal in Vietnam? As you know, the transitions, the rapid transition, customer, employees, and supplier to online space, it leads to create more than online job than ever, and this is a good chance in digitalization area. Besides that, rising demands for new labor force with new skill to well adapt with future rises, and demand in high-risk working when we have to live with COVID will become more relevant in new normal. Wow, how to make workforce ready for digital transformation journeys? Today, I would like to focus on three key factors. First is how to transfer HR traditional form to digital transformations. Second is how to effectively upskill and reskill for our workforce readiness in new rises. And the last one, I would like to share you some way that L&A focus on employee experience. It's not easy way to do the digital transformation. So I want to list out 5 factors that influence the transitions. First is whether employee competence in use of assistant digital system. This is digital literacy. Second is how employees are willing to adopt with new digital system. The third is the digital capacity of your leadership and management. And the fourth is how to upskilling for the current labor workforce that they can handle their current tasks and take more responsibility for new area. And the last one is how to continuously enhance digital competence. When you answer with 5 areas, you will know that whether your organization ready to train for digital transformation or not. And it seems not likely because it have no any common formula for every company, because each company to all find out a way that fit with your cultures and markets. I would like to share the journeys transformation, digital transformations as L&A. We go through 3 phases. First, digitization. Second is digitalization, and third is digital transformation. In the phase of digitization, we maximize usage of online and Excel form relate for paperwork, and scanning on hard copy document for storage. From that, you can search and look in document for easier. And second step, we focus on digitalization through applying many systems for improving internal processes and improving the collaboration between departments like HRIS, ERP. And we use a tool named PeopleTrack to record employee performance year by year, and use younger Folkman to develop and build the leadership and management team. And the third phase, we go through digital transformation. Now we are going to deploy an ATS with AI power in screening and matching candidates on our CV referral. And we just published two-way communication platform. This is not only a communication channel, but also it is the place that employee can raise your voice and company can respond on time to their concerns. And we based on the data behavior, we will analyze and predict their behavior and match it with our with their performance for development success in our company. Employee resilience and employability in the company, we should provide upskilling and reskilling. Mean that the way for employees learn how to more effectively manage their tasks, and while also learning how to take more responsibility in a different area. So for implement upskill and reskill effectively, I think we need to combine many different way training for employees. We maximize cost, mean that from classroom training to learning platform, and use many learning techniques like online learning or blended learning, and building courseware with gamification for attract learner in our process. The last sessions, I would like to show you about the way that L&A focus on improving employee experience. As you know, employee life cycle will pass 6 phases from attraction to onboarding. So we want to make their journey very comfortable and attracting them in for improving productivity. We as L&A, the way employee understand and apply flexibility law to deliver service is extremely important. So monthly updating, legal updating is a must. And we apply many training methods like organized training in classroom and combined with many situation video with the supportive from HR chatbot to help employees in the daily operation. and we build a culture for acknowledge the effort, even smallest, to everyone, that people can comfortable with their job and engage at work, and from that they will improve. We will improve their when they work with us as L&A. That's all for my present today. Thank you for your pay attention. Okay. Mr. Guy, you must your voice.
Thank you very much, Ms. Hang, for sharing with us these insights, especially based with your knowledge of the Vietnam market.
Yeah.
And I think, as you said, digitization is going to be very important for all the employees. And I believe a lot of training will be requested and a lot of coaching too, right?
Yes.
Thank you very much. So should we move to our next speaker? So our next speaker from Adilstone Group is Mr. Brandon Christensen and Mr. Gauthier D'Haenens. So who will go first? So Brandon, you can start with your presentation.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Guy, and also thank you to the BeluxCham and the other Chamber of Commerce for giving us the opportunity to share a bit more about HR in post-COVID times and the impact globally as well. So my name is Gauthier D'Haenens. I'm the Director of Business Development and Recruitment at Adilstone Group, and been living in Hanoi for the last 4.5 years.
Yes, my name is Brandon Christensen, president of Adilstone Group, and it's an honor and a privilege to be here with you guys today. I'm actually in Vietnam as well. Aloka came here last week, so excited to be in Ho Chi Minh City, Da Nang, and Hanoi as well with Gauthier. So glad to be back after over 2 years of not being able to come here. So it's a pleasure to be back and looking forward to walking through our time today. So these are just a kind of a quick outline of the things we're going to cover today. So I talk about just a little bit about us, global talent shortages, the global impact of obviously COVID, the global outlook for 2022, some of the industry demands that we're seeing, the impact of COVID to date, and recruitment in this kind of post-COVID world. I put that little with an asterisk, as we're saying. Hopefully we're coming out of it, but certainly we think, and then thinking outside the box as we think about this world here moving forward.
Yes, so just a little bit about Adilstone Group. So recruiting with a redemptive edge. So for us, I think as Mr. Guy introduced us, we've seen recruitment as an industry where it's an industry that is focused highly on quick turnover, going from one placement fee to the next placement fee, where people are just CVs that are presented to clients in hoping that it sticks and hoping that candidates will be hired as soon as possible. So what I really want to see is we want to see a global recruiting world where people are treated as people and not just as projects. So we're a global talent acquisition and service partner who is reimagining recruitment, and that reimagining recruitment is really for us the key in how we want to be a changer in the industry, where we can create ideal matches, not just based on the needs that are obviously there, but also just based on the relationship that the impact a candidate can have on the company, and as well the company can have on a candidate.
Great. Just a little bit more about Adilstone Group here. So we were founded in 2016, based out of the US. We just celebrated our 5-year anniversary last fall. We set up our Hanoi representative office in 2019 and became an official FIE office in 2021. As I said, we're headquartered in the US. We also have teams in Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, South Africa, and Vietnam. So we're truly a global company. We have experts collective over 50 years of global recruitment experience. And if you can't tell between Gauthier and I, we are very passionate about what we do. And we want to see people thrive in their workplaces and to see workplaces thrive as well. Well, let's take a couple minutes here to look at some of the global trends that we're seeing. Some of these were trending upwards with COVID, but we certainly saw some increased trends as well too. So this is from Manpower. Most of you probably are familiar with Manpower studies, some of the best out there that really shows some of the trends. And so this was the Q4 report for 2021. And 45,000 employers were surveyed in 43 countries, and 69% of these employers reported they cannot find the skills that they need. This is a 15-year high, and second quarter in a row that they experienced a high with it. So if we look at particular industries, we have some that even higher than this. Manufacturing is at 80%, finance, real estate, business at 71%, and trending right there at 69% is transport and communication, and continue to see this go all the way down. That's highlighting some of the industries as well. And so the global talent shortage, which we were seeing trending before COVID, shows no signs of slowing down here as we kind of come out of this post-COVID world. So here's some of the other things from that report that we kind of can glean from it. The momentum of post-pandemic hiring demand continues to increase, even despite the pandemic. Even in some areas where we saw that, this was again Q4 2021, that's a report there with it though. So they were seeing the increasing hiring. Money, time, and access to the right partners presents the greatest challenges globally. So really trying to figure out who is the best partner for companies and for different organizations. Managers are feeling resilient, unconcerned, or energized by hybrid or remote working. That this is actually has forced a lot of companies and during the pandemic to go remote, but it's actually being something that's energizing employees and energizing managers the flexibility. And the question we just have is, what have been your greatest challenges as companies as you think about this idea of the global impact and what's seen, and what has your challenges been?
And as we dive a bit further as well in the global outlook, we've also looked at closer numbers of the Q2 outlook report from Manpower, where we look at numbers based on 41,000 employers in 40 countries. So here we really see some interesting numbers as employers really globally continue to expect to hire coming out of 2021. So besides the hiring bounce back that we had coming out of 2021, coming out of the pandemic, we see that actually the momentum is continuing, and that it's expected to maintain traction as well during 22. So the net employment outlook based on those 41,000 employers, we actually see an increase of 29%. So just to give a bit of information, net employment outlook is calculated based on what a company will project of the number of people leaving the company, and as well then compared to the hiring outlook of the desire of hiring additional talent in the year. So we see a 29% increase in net employment outlook, which is actually pretty high. 46% of those employers reported that they plan to hire and increase their staffing. 16% projected they would decrease their staff, seeing people leave. Then we have 35% of the employers that reported that there will still be a consistent retention. So all in all, we see just positive numbers as well coming out of 2021, coming out of that pandemic. We see just a consistent traction in increase globally over all those employers. And as we go and dive a little bit deeper into the industry demands globally, we have a strong demand for talents across key sectors. So of course, here in Vietnam, we see the digital roles continue to drive most demand globally. So again, Vietnam, but also globally, where we see that IT tech is really taking here the forefront. They report as well with the strongest outlook, especially as you look at the hybrid remote roles, where those roles become highly available, highly sought after as well, as businesses try to adapt as well in working remotely, in working hybridly. And then, of course, followed by banking, finance, insurance, and real estate, manufacturing, hospitality. I think those of you that arrived recently in Vietnam, maybe as Brandon as well, you've seen the hospitality industry specifically open up again, as we see quarantine being lifted, as we see restrictions being lifted. So we see really demand as well there, even for our own clients, where we see high demand increase across multiple industries. And of course, coming out of 2021, coming out of pandemic, even to date, and 2022, we still see an impact on traveling. So especially, when your business rests on going from point A to point B, as your business rests on closed borders, especially as well, not only the recruitment companies, but just businesses here in Vietnam, we do see that closed borders have had such a huge impact on travelings. So not only the vaccination passports, the PCR test, the long process added things that were complicated things, but just the long duration as well that complicated things for people to get into the country. Added to that, you had the hiring process that it became completely virtual. So back in the old days, as we say, we had the interviews that were face-to-face, but people came to the office. Well, that has completely changed as well. We see the remote office hybrid work and the impact that it's had on the company culture as well on its productivity. And yeah, we're going to dive a bit deeper as well into the importance of the clear and transparent communication from organization to employees on what it looks like to work remotely, to work hybridly, as well communication on how the hiring process and onboarding process actually looks like. When we talk about remotely, we talk about everything being virtual with closed borders.
Great. Well, as Gauthier said, this remote work piece is probably, or hybrid models, one of the biggest things that has changed the workforce coming out of COVID, or we saw during COVID with it. It was a growing trend anyways in a lot of things, but it just fast forward this in a big way. So a McKinsey report did this survey of 16,000 employees. That report, the organization had communicated a post-pandemic vision. And here's the interesting information. 32% said they communicated it well, what the plan was, what their culture was going to be like coming out of it. 28% vaguely communicated what that's going to be like, but 40% had not communicated what it was going to be like, what was going on with it, which obviously leaves a lot of people kind of in the dark and unclear about moving forward with it. So what we see here is most organizations did not clearly communicate, but here's the interesting thing. The ones that did communicate it very well, had a detailed plan, had 5 times increase in productivity for their employees. So think about this from a negative standpoint, think about a positive standpoint. So if you don't communicate, you actually have a disadvantage. And by not communicating, you're actually missing out on an opportunity to increase productivity of your employees with it. So that's a really major factor in terms of your communication and how you have a clear plan with it. Communicate about the future can drive employee performance, like we talked about. And 30% of employees would consider switching employers returning to fully on-site work. And we have seen this firsthand in our organization where basically people have quit or will not take jobs if there's not that flexibility of completely remote or hybrid with it, and they won't hesitate to have this going forward. So a question, to ask is how as an organization are you communicating to your employees? If this is such a strategic area, how are you making sure that there's very clear communication on what your remote work, virtual work, office plan, or hybrid is, whatever it is that your employees know about it?
Yeah, and as you come out of that is how you communicate. That we really dive into how does it look for you day to day? How are your teams functioning? And when we look at the interview process, is we really see that in this current world with all the restrictions that we've had, with all the challenges that we've had of bringing people on board, retaining talents, making sure that people get treated fairly, is how proactive is your HR. It's really, we see that we go from, and Brandon's going to share a bit more about it later, but from reactive to proactive HR is really where you're transparent in your process, where you're transparent on integration. For us as well, we've brought in expats into Vietnam lately in the last couple of months, and it's just being upfront with the candidates and taking them into the process. Don't distance, but keeping them informed on what to expect. You manage expectations here, and again, you're not just presenting CVs, but you're really messing with people's lives. You're asking people to come to a new country. So how is your communication and how flexible can you be as an HR, as an organization to bring the process with the candidate? That is really where the dialogue is so important. And the onboarding is just more than paperwork. It's really to involving people into your company's mission, the vision, and engaging them in the team. Again, the first 90 days are so crucial for someone to land, and we don't want people to leave after the first couple of months. So the important part will be to really aim for longevity success, is making sure that those 90 days are clear, for those 90 days to be in tandem with your HR, to make sure there's a consistent follow-up, that the relationship as well is there with the leaders. People appreciate it, whether you're a junior, mid, senior person coming into an organization, is that accessibility and availability that leaders portray from organizations to the new employees that get valued. And the candidates really appreciate it as well. Is how do you become from a candidate to an employee, and how do you really become incorporated into the company, into the team? And we also see during the hiring and onboarding process how important it is to lay out a very clear career path with options, growth opportunities for people to come on board. People don't want this to be the end part of their story, the last chapter. People want this to be a new journey, to step into something new where they can grow, where they can be part of a team that invests in them, as they have an impact as well on the organization and on the company. So I think an important question to ask for you would be, how have you adapted to this, your process, to this new working schedule? How have you adapted to hiring and onboarding people into this new scheme, especially with the pandemic, especially with the restrictions that have been in place?
Great. Well, we want to talk a couple minutes here just on the importance of culture. So if you think in a world, if we go back to the statistic we shared earlier, 69% of employers surveyed are having a hard time finding talent. Some of those industries are higher than that. So one of the key things that's going to be important in attracting talent, but also retaining your talent, is the importance of culture. It's not just about the paycheck, while that certainly is a very important piece of it, but people want to work at a place that has a good culture, that's important things that they're doing. So strong and transparent company culture is going to help keep the integrity of the entire organization. So what is that culture? How have you communicated there? What does it look like? Being employee centric. This is an employee driven market right now. It's been a switch over there. As many people, sometimes we go employer, employee. This one is probably the most employee driven market I've seen in my time in the recruiting industry. And so they're the ones that are helping build your brand. So they can help you build your company brand and attract people, or they can hurt you. Purposeful. Are you proactively including employees in your company mission? Many people, especially millennials and Gen Z, want to be part of something bigger, right? It's not just about a paycheck. It's not about, they want to give to a greater cause. They want to be a part of a company that is contributing to different ways into society with it. So are you including your people in the mission of the company? Empower collaboration over competition, avoid a toxic company culture. Competition certainly is good, but a collaboration is going to give you a lot more and better culture built versus just a toxic company culture. And validation creates an environment that appreciates people for their contribution every day. How do you appreciate your employees on the little things? What I've often found is many times it's the small things that will keep somebody versus a major $5,000 pay raise or $3,000 pay raise. Just the appreciation and value of what they do on an ongoing basis. And it can't just be at a quarterly review or an annual review. It's periodically, right? It's all the time. It's an ongoing part of getting your culture of rewarding that with it. And then again, how would you rate your company culture? So as you look at these things we just shared, how do you rate in these areas here? And then one of the things that we wanted to do as we kind of wrap up our time here is really thinking outside the box. And Ms. Hang did a really good job at talking about HR moving towards a digital transformation, moving to this idea of reactive to proactive, right? Using technology with it. And this is going to be such an important piece of moving forward in the talent acquisition phases is how do you shift the recruitment culture? You know, how do you go from that reactive to the proactive side of things where you're not just worried about the urgent position now, you're looking ahead 6 months from now and say, hey, this is our growth opportunity. What if we started kind of proactively looking for candidates in that field now, or putting feelers out, or asking friends, or just kind of getting the word out about it? And what other thing we call is called brand recruiting. What does brand recruiting look like? Creating your brand out there that people want to be a part of it, right? People want to go work with your company because they're seeing a buzz about it. They're seeing it from your employees. They're seeing it on your social media. They're seeing it from your clients. That's a really positive step in this market when you're trying to distinguish yourself from a lot of companies. And then some things we've experienced in the US, we're also seeing it in South Africa, other parts of what's called the Great Resignation. If you guys have heard about this massive resignation of people by the millions that are leaving their jobs and going to something else. And how are you going to counter this? And a couple things on this that we've seen that is kind of thinking outside about, again, investing in employee growth. How are you investing in your employees? Not just, hey, here's a training course, here's this, but truly looking individual at each employee, what's important to them. And then the big thing that we've helped model with some of our clients is virtual recruiting events, putting together, using technology, using Zoom, the ability that people are willing to jump on something where you can get on for an event, for an hour event, and expose your company, expose people that are working at your company to employees, and invite prospective employees onto this call to learn more about your company. A very low cost way to recruit it. Again, think outside the box, bringing a funnel of people into it. And we've seen success with some of our clients that have then in turn gone on to hire people, and they've created a great pipeline with it. So again, these are just a few ideas here, but what are you doing to think outside of the normal box to be able to continue to bring the top talent in, and also, as we heard earlier, how to retain that top talent? Well, we thank you so much for your time today here. It's been an honor and privilege to be able to be with you, to be able to share today. I hope this has been some insightful information. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Brandon. Thank you, Gauthier. We have received already some questions, which I can read and deliver to you. The first question is, what are the changes in hiring or recruiting people despite there is the pandemic? And this on several countries, even worldwide. What are the changes you have seen in the hiring and the recruitment of people despite the pandemic? What changes have you seen happening over an array of many, many different countries?
Yeah, thank you. That's a really great question, because that's exactly what we were talking about as well. It's we've seen the recruitment world change so much, and again, not just for us as a talent acquisition company, but also for in-house HR recruitment teams. We've just seen the process. I think that for one has had a huge impact, just because the physical interviews are not possible anymore. You see that everything has to happen virtually, so people have to move quickly as well. If you want an interview, so to speak, you could have a Zoom call with an executive in the next hour or so. So it's also become very dynamic, in the sense that when clients express interest to candidates, when companies want to hire the right talent, they can't organize interviews anymore face-to-face in a matter of a couple of months, or they can lose candidates. It's become a very competitive market, especially because the pandemic has also caused hybrid remote work, where people can just work from anywhere in the world for any company they choose for. So the competition is also increased. The availability for both talent and companies has become so much bigger now that everything can happen virtually. And as Brandon said before, we see also managers expressing positivity and also tenacity and flexibility towards that remote and hybrid work. So a quicker turnaround is definitely a key point here. You know, moving quicker on your talent if you identify someone who could be a great fit. Also having the right process in place, having the right people in place to make sure that things move along, together with a transparent communication when you get to the onboarding process, and when you switch from how do you get someone from being a candidate to becoming an employee in your company, making sure that you're on it and that the process happens very smoothly.
So actually the digital tools in place have helped to increase the speed of communication wherever it's recruiting, having a team meeting or a hiring discussion. So the speed is much higher than before.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it goes much quicker now than before. Again, from my own experience, I mean, we just lost a candidate today for a client. She was in the process. It was an expat, and it was within the IT tech space. So we know it's very competitive. Things can move very quickly. And just because the company did not give feedback enough on time, the candidate pulled out of the process and accepted a new job. So unfortunately, that is a norm that we work with. We love to share our success stories, but we also have some stories where we do see that happen, where we do see candidates pull out or companies pull out, if candidates are not reactive enough, because obviously this is something that happens from both sides, where both sides cannot only be reactive. This is really proactivity from both sides, where we see the importance of speed and efficiency together with communication.
Mr. Guy, follow up to that as well. We recently had a client that adapted their process in midstream because they interviewed a candidate that they thought was really good and they were afraid of losing him. So they actually stopped finished the process, cut it short, and offered him like that day after that interview with him. So I think those are some of the things we're seeing, if taking too long, but also being able to adapt your processes and to make sure you capture that candidate when you feel good about it.
I have seen also some questions coming in the chat. I will read them. The first question is coming from Tan. She's asking Ms. Hang about how you assess whether digital transformation is working effectively in your organization or not. How do you assess it?
Yes. To assess whether digital transformations is working effectively in your organization or not, I think it shows in the improved productivity. Mean that when you apply any system, you will improve the internal process. If it is the obstacle of employees, they feel not good when they transfer. They cannot engage at work and more with take many time in your system. So I think the significance for improve productivity is the pitch signal that your transformations is working effectively or not. I think so, yeah. And besides that, your employee experience on the system. They feel good, they feel difficulties when they use system. It's the prevent the digital transformation in your company.
Yeah, thank you very much. Another question from Nguyen about what do you think about the ability to adapt and use the technology for the Vietnamese labor market?
Yeah, I will take this question then. As I mentioned in a presentation, I have a good signal that more than 80% employees, Vietnamese employees, they agree just to ready learn new skill for adapt with new for feelings new and they proactive prepare for improved capability to adapt with the markets. And I think besides that, I think the company should provide culture, build and provide a culture, learning culture for everyone. I think this will give them too easy to access a new job and new area in the company.
Thank you.
Yeah.
There is another question from Kimi to Gauthier and to Brandon. He saw in your presentation great resignation as one of the trend of one of the issues that happened last year. That was because of the COVID impact. Actually, many employees have quitted and changed their jobs. Do you think it's going to make the shortage of labor in some specific industries, and in which ways do companies need to do in this situation? I think you give some answers already in your presentation.
Great, thank you, Mr. Guy. And yeah, I think we are seeing it for sure. I think the challenges we've seen around the world, but in particular like hospitality, a lot of people obviously left the hospitality industry and they're not returning back for various reasons why other industries, they were able to go work somewhere else. So I think hospitality, the other thing we've seen in the service industry, restaurant industry, those industries, massive numbers on the US side of things. Everywhere you go, there's help wanted signs in the restaurants around, in the US and things like that. I think you're seeing it across the world as well too. So that's just a small example, but I think there is a major shift of several people going from one industry to the next, worried about the future, concern as well too. The way to combat that, I think, is a couple different ways. I don't know if there's Domino's Pizza here in Vietnam. It's a major chain of pizza chains in the US. And I saw an interesting ad the other day because pizza places, fast food restaurants are having a hard time filling their jobs. And they had, I believe, 60% of their franchisee owners came in the store as pizza makers or drivers for delivery pizza. And so I thought the ad was brilliant in featuring, hey, come into our organization and you have a career path, versus if you're just a person that's kind of a lower level employee, you might not see a career path, but they were showing what their career path was for these people to come into it. So I thought that was really brilliant in terms of showing what it could look like to come in at a job at 18 or 19 or 20 or 21 in one of these, positions and have an ability to move up with it. So I think that, and the other thing is you're going to have to, companies going to figure out what are alternate ways to be able to go out and to recruit people. What are different pools of people is what we often talk about in the industry. And I think in some cases, technology as well. Where is technology going to have to be used to backfill some of these positions that they won't come back as well too?
Thank you, Brandon. There is another question from Amita about HR practitioner. If you are an HR practitioner, what should you do to deal with labor shortage and solve this situation during the time that you are searching for candidates? So what an HR practitioner should
Yeah,
do
I can reply to that one
labor
also.
shortage and solve this issue while at the same time
That's a good
there's
question because obviously here we've seen there's a talent shortage, there's a massive need. People are not finding the right people. So what in our experience, what we've advised to our clients as well is the important part is here you're playing the long game, and sometimes it's okay to wait for the right person and instead of hiring the wrong person and then that person not having the right or desired impact on your organization. So really here, the importance of building the right pipeline. As we explained before, hiring is so much more than just getting CVs and hoping that it somehow sticks and that it somehow is a match. But really, it starts with relationships. So if you're able to identify just some key players, some key people that would fit the desired talents and start building a relationship with those people, where you build out the pipeline, you build out the network that you could go back to on the long term and represent it. Because I mean, every organization always tells that they want to hire someone yesterday and that hopefully they could hire 5 of them yesterday. Now, the reality of things obviously is that it's not always possible, even with such a dynamic world where things move quicker. Here, there's still things need to be done with due diligence and especially with patience, because I think what is even worse than not finding someone is possibly hiring someone who is not the right fit and having the bad impact of their organization, and then an organization having to invest time, resources, manpower into someone that ends up not being the right fit. So I would say really is build out your network and build up the pipeline, especially and play the long game.
Based on my long experience in this market, Gauthier, I can only agree with you.
Yeah.
I see another question from Savas. It's a question to Adilstone Group. Which tools do you use to find out if a candidate matches the job requirement or not? No, I don't ask you to give your, I don't think you have to give your secret about how you really recruit, maybe better than others, but some example that have worked.
That would be good. Can't give away completely our secret sauce, can I? So
Yeah.
So yeah, a couple of things I think you mentioned, Ms. Hong mentioned earlier, an applicant tracking system. So we use an applicant tracking system that manages all the database under different jobs, under different specifications. And with that, we're able to custom build out even each of our workflows for each of our clients. So each client has different needs. So for example, our healthcare clients have medical requirements, credentialing that they need with them. So you're able to build those out. And even when they apply, they immediately come back and have to answer those questions. So it's a way to immediately say, okay, this person meets the qualifications, they don't. So it's kind of in a pre-qualification screen. And then the good thing about it is it's in our applicant tracking system. So somebody today might not be qualified position, but 2 years from now, they might be qualified for it. And you can go back, to be able to pull that up with it. So that's probably our first kind of line of defense that we do as well. The second piece is just kind of a little bit of old school, really understanding the job description, but understanding what does the client want, right? What do you need in that position from the hiring manager? So if you're a company, understand what your hiring manager needs. Look, the job description says one thing, but what they want is another thing with it. And so I think that is really important to really be able to match up that information coming in with what you're looking for. And then the third thing is just as much as I would like to say it, I think AI can, third thing, in addition, AI could also become a part of play with it. And we're seeing a lot more artificial intelligence. It's the good old work of just interviewing, right? And hearing people and talking to them and matching them up with it and learning the skill sets with the job with it. So I think there's hopefully one day we'll see a disruptive in the industry, but I think there's still something about that a CV can't quite tell you that, spending some time matching up with it, understanding the client, understanding the candidate is I think the best way as well too for culture fit.
Thanks, Brandon. There is another question that was sent to us. What are the common ways a company can do or benefit, and what more they can offer to employees after the COVID?
Yes. I think there are many ways to offer effectively benefit to on staff. But you should, I think, know any common way. But I think you should observe what your employee really need, and then we'll have an offer for suitable with your culture. But my recommend is when people think about benefit, they think more about money or salaries or something like that. I think after COVID-19, people, employee will care more about the working environment and mental health that they can solve their problem. Mean that when they meet they has infection from COVID-19 and your family, their family. So how we provide that they can overcome up the difficult phase. I think as L&A, we propose company doctor to all staff that they when they need the doctor can consult to employee which ways that they the rush they can use for quickly pass the phase. And the other thing I think you can care about the working environment. You create a comfort condition that they can remote working, and besides that you can manage their productivity or their results by tool system. Yeah, so I think something like that. It's not just focused on about the money salary. I think so. Yeah.
So that's very interesting what you say. The candidates have indeed some common ways of looking at companies, about asking on the culture, asking about the company benefits other than just financial benefits.
Yeah, yes.
Working environment, health insurance, and these things, you know, which is really important for them, knowing what has happened during COVID-19, and many families have been affected.
Yes. I think provides a health package for employees that meaningful than financial package.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. We had a question. How the companies in Vietnam are adapting to hybrid remotely working styles at the moment? You have the feeling the companies are adapting well to this remotely and this different hybrid working style compared to the before COVID period?
Yes. I think we should categorize the job in your company. Which job can convert to remote working, and which jobs cannot. Example, blue worker working on inline, we cannot convert. But some office work for white collar, you can transfer to remote working for reduce office costs and increase employee engagement and in their work, for they feel comfortable with the working environment. And I think the important thing is how you prepare, how you manage their working result. This is very important. So as our company, we deploy a system for measure the result, and we publish a framework that employee can report. We prepare a good infrastructure for employee that they can improve their results when they working from home.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you very much. We have received another very precise question. Somebody is mentioning about the renewal of the temporary resident card for the foreign expats in the Binh Duong province. Processing time is much longer than before. And they say, is there any way to expedite? I think this is a question that should be sent to the BeluxCham HR sector committee, right? So actually, we will forward this question to BeluxCham HR committee because they can tackle this issue of temporary resident card renewal in the Binh Duong province. The last question is also very, very specific and very precise. Somebody is asking, if I desire to apply a job position in a Belgian company, which kind of personality and skills that I have to be qualified? I'm not sure it's going to be very different skills or qualifications or personality that you need to work with a Belgian company than any other company.
Yeah.
Gauthier, have you any idea if so the Belgian company are using your group to recruit in Vietnam?
It's an interesting question to ask me because I am from Vietnam, but I grew up in Belgium, so I'm on both sides of the, of the thing. So that's a good question. I'm not sure if there's a very straightforward answer to that one. I guess every company has its own culture, especially Belgium. It's a distinguished culture. It's a European culture. You know, Europeans are very straightforward, or at least Belgians are very straightforward, business-like. So I think not beating around the bush would definitely help during the interview. Be very straightforward. And I guess that is something that is just something that is globally as well. Be confident but humble in how you present yourself. Not too confident, but also, you know, be proud of your achievements and make sure that it's a conversation, a dialogue with the hiring manager, and not just you trying to sell yourself, but really try to understand the mission and the vision of the company. But again, I'm not sure if that's a Belgian specific thing. I know that is a thing that just globally companies are looking for. Yeah.
Do we have any more questions? No. So I don't see any more questions. So basically, I would like to thank everyone. It's 4 p.m. So we will close our webinar. Thank you very much for participating in this webinar. Thank you very much, Ms. Hang, Brandon, and Gauthier, for your very interesting speeches and all the knowledge you share with us. I think everybody has learned something this afternoon. And now it's all about implementing and executing what we learned. Thank you, everyone. Look forward.
Thank you.
Meet you all in the future.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Yeah.